What we're doing is saying simply we want to keep the government open, and we want to work with the Republicans and have a bipartisan agreement to keep this government open, and health care is at the top of our agenda.
But aren't Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
That's right. Democrats are demanding health care for everybody.
President Trump shared a deepfake video Monday night depicting Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries making false claims about their demands. Jeffries firing back, saying bigotry will get you nowhere.
And Mr. President, the next time you have something to say about me, don't cop out through a racist and fake AI video. When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer also responded saying, if you think your shutdown is a joke, it just proves what we all know. You can't negotiate, you can only throw tantrums.
All right, well, major breaking news in Washington, at least. I'm not sure how much the rest of America really cares, but as of midnight tonight, our federal government is headed towards a government shutdown after Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries essentially threw a crybaby fit during the budget negotiations, stating that they would refuse to keep funding the government unless Donald Trump surrendered his entire presidency and gave the Democrats everything that they wanted, despite the fact they don't own a single chamber right now in our government. So essentially, Trump responded by laughing at them and saying that, hey, you want to go towards a shutdown, then let's play that game. Ultimately, a shutdown is something that affects Democrats and their constituents much more than it does Republicans for reasons we'll explain here today. And by the way, let's not forget the fact that this shutdown is, yes, entirely the fault of Democrats. But this is yet another example, as we so often see, of the Democrat Party committing a own goal or a self-own in order to appease their angry, radical, and violent left-wing base, right? Because these are the people who are saying, you need to fight harder against Trump, you need to go nuclear option, and Democrats thinking they have to appease these people in the process are throwing away yet another chance they have of potentially winning over more moderate Americans in the midterms. But we'll tell you all about that here today. I also want to lay out the very reasons why Democrats are shutting down the federal government, because according to Maxine Waters herself, I mean, they're saying this, not me. It is indeed over giving out free government subsidized healthcare to illegal immigrants. That is correct. And we'll tell you why. So that said, guys, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We greatly appreciate the support. And that said, let us start with, of course, the official announcement that, yes, the vote tonight to keep funding the government, it requires 60 votes. I've long said, by the way, that Republicans might as well abolish the filibuster because, first of all, you're not going to get anything truly fiscally conservative or conservative in any sense done when you have to pass budgets that require 60 votes. Democrats have been saying for years they're going to abolish it when they have power. The next time around, we might as well beat them to that punch. Some people disagree. Doesn't really matter at this point. The point is what? That it needs 60 votes. Republicans have 53 in the Senate. Now, Fetterman, Cortez Mastro, and Senator King out of Maine did vote to keep the government open, but that's obviously only 56. And so the news tonight is, yes, Congress has gone home and we will be having that government shutdown thanks to Schumer and his crybaby antics.
100% sure thing. In fact, senators are leaving right now. They're headed home for the night. The House is out of session, and the bill is about to fail. The bill that is the only real path out of a government shutdown, the Republican plan that actually passed the United States House last week, about a week and a half ago, largely along party lines that would keep the government open for 7 weeks, now will be blocked by Democrats in the Senate. The vote is now 53-44. It is still ongoing, but there are not enough votes to break a filibuster. It requires 60 votes to advance. Just 3 Democrats have voted to advance this bill.
Yeah, so with that said, let us try to understand this issue by breaking down What were the Democrats' demands and why were they so important to force a government shutdown? And then you'll rapidly start to realize there's something else really going on here. But let's first of all read those off for you. So first of all, they want to extend the Obamacare subsidies and tax credits. Okay. The second one, though, is the reversal of the Medicaid cuts made under the big, beautiful bill that Democrats have screamed so much about, right? Basically saying you have to reverse that entire thing. Now, you may remember from the debate over the big, beautiful bill that a large component of the so-called Medicaid cuts were simply mandating that you be a legal citizen or permanent legal resident and provide proof of that residency in order to receive government subsidized health care, which in other words means what? No more benefits for temporary migrants or illegal aliens. So essentially, right, when you really break it down, a major component of the demands here are that Democrats are literally, I kid you not, shutting down the government over healthcare for illegal aliens. Now, of course, they might try to respond, you would expect, in saying that, oh, that's like a red herring, that's a straw man, that's a misnomer, that's not really what this is about. Except today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not taking that from the words of Republican talking points. I'm actually bringing it right from Democrat Congresswoman, I should say, Maxine Waters, who today was asked about, hey, is it true? Are you really shutting down the government for illegal alien healthcare? And take a listen to what she had to say. The answer is yes. Breaking news.
Do Democrats want to prioritize the health care of illegal aliens over a government shutdown? Because if the government does shut down, American
Excuse
employees are going
me,
to be furloughed.
stop it right there. We're not prioritizing. What we're doing is saying simply we want to keep the government open and we want to work with the Republicans and have a bipartisan agreement to keep this government open, and health care is at the top of our agenda.
But aren't Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
Democrats are demanding health care for everybody. We want to save lives.
That means yes, by the way. Okay, politicians speak translated. That means yes, and she's not even denying it.
We want to make sure that health care is available to those who would die, but having the help of their government.
So you're good with the government shutdown, even if it means giving health care to people who aren't American citizens?
Well, that's what you're pushing on. What you're trying to do is you're standing here and you're trying to make me say that somehow we're going to put non-citizens over Americans. Quit it. Stop it. This is the kind of journalism we don't need.
No, I'm just
you're
asking
divisive.
questions.
No, you're not.
Yeah, no,
you're being divisive. No, please.
I'm
You don't need to ask that question. You're just trying to get controversy here. You're not going to get it from me. We want to save health care for all people. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Appreciate it.
So what I did hear in that was a gigantic word salad about divisiveness and controversy in healthcare for everybody. But what I, of course, did not hear was a denial that Democrats are shutting down the government over healthcare for illegal aliens, because that is exactly what they're doing. And somehow this is going to be the winning position to run to the entire country in 2026. See, we stopped Donald Trump from giving out free healthcare on your tax dollars to illegal aliens. Okay. And again, we'll explain the reason for all of this in a second. But so there's other healthcare stuff, as you can see, but I also want to bring you another interesting point about their other demand here, which is, as you can see, limits on executive funding withholdings, right? Basically, they want reforms to block DOGE, to block President Trump's ability to unilaterally withhold or rescind congressionally approved funds, including ending the Senate's fast-track process for clawing back funding via simple majority votes. So basically, they want to mandate a filibuster to, for instance, withhold or defund USAID as one example, and that would reinstate again. So this is why I'm saying they're trying to undo Trump's entire legacy and then saying, oh, you're not responding to our reasonable demands, right? So much talk about how Trump was refusing to negotiate. He wasn't even taking it seriously. Yeah, I wonder why. Because he knew he was calling your bluff. He knew you guys were complete clowns about this. But anyways, they want to do that as well as extend the expiration date on a proposed $4.9 billion pocket rescission to prevent the cancellation of that money. So here you once again, by the way, not the first time, because they thought about doing this back in February and March. They just didn't follow through. Hey, let's shut down the government to stop Doge from shutting down the government. Of course, the hilarious, once again, own goal aspect of this is, as Trump points out, during a government shutdown, he has much more unilateral authority to lay off and fire federal workers. And guess what? After all, right, you're like, hey, we want the federal bureaucracy to be funded and continue to exist. So we're going to defund the federal bureaucracy by shutting down the government and refusing to fund it. Like, what is the logic in that, right? And this is exactly something Trump has pointed out, and a big reason he doesn't really care if a government shutdown happens or not. Maybe he's arguably cheering for the Democrats to do this because he says, quote, when you shut it down, we'd be laying off a lot of people, and they're going to be Democrats. A lot of good can come from shutdowns, yes. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want. Exactly, Democrats. What are you doing here? Well, I don't know. Take a listen.
You're doing. Thank you very much, Linda. Okay, any questions, please?
Mr. President, as we inch closer to a government shutdown, this morning you said you might do a lot of layoffs. If Doge is already reducing the federal workforce, why is it necessary to link more federal jobs cut to a shutdown?
Well, the Democrats want to shut it down, so when you shut it down, you have to do layoffs. So we'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and the Democrats, they're going to be Democrats. As you know, this country, no country can afford to pay for illegal immigration, health care for everybody that comes into the country, and that's what they're insisting. And obviously I have an obligation to not accept that. That would affect everybody. You know, when I see what we're doing with AI and all the plants that are opening up in the country, $17 trillion is coming. And if you compare that to Biden had in 4 years, less than $1 trillion. We have 17 trillion, more than that. I think it's going to be much more than that, David. By the end of this year, I think it's going to be far over that. It's a record. It's already a record in 8 months. It's a record by a lot. And so we're doing well as a country. So the last thing we want to do is shut it down. But a lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want. And they'd be Democrat things, but they want open borders. They want men playing in women's sports. They want transgender for everybody. They never stop. They don't learn. We won an election in a landslide. They just don't learn. So we have no choice. I have to do that for the country. Yes.
Yeah. So again, there you have the bulletproof logic of Democrats. Hey, let's shut down the government to prevent Trump from shutting down the government. Just brilliant. Hey, me first, me first. There's something out of a cartoon, you know, like they're tossing the hot potato back and forth or whatever. But all of that said, I want to spell out for you what I think is really going on here. Because as much as it's unsurprising that Democrats are demanding, you know, free healthcare for illegal immigrants, I think that deep down, Schumer and Jeffries knew that Trump was going to basically kick them out of the room and not take them seriously. But the purpose behind this whole performance is summed up basically, I think very well, by Greg Price right here. This is what it's really about. Again, the outlandish demands. Well, Democrats wanted to shut down the government. That's clear the entire time. They never thought Trump was going to surrender on these positions, but they voted to shut down the government because they have no power in D.C., but they do have a base that is loudly demanding they do something to oppose Trump. Exactly, right? This is the, what I call like the we need to fight theory among Democrat circles. Because there's so many of your radical, like deranged, kind of like mentally ill base that just goes, Donald Trump, it's a fascist takeover, 86-47, no, right? And the truth is a lot of these people are pissed off right now that Democrats basically have not, all tried to storm into ICE facilities and maybe even commit acts of terrorism, much like their bases and all this garbage, right? And so they knew they needed to do something. Chuck Schumer, you may remember months ago when he decided to keep the government open, was massively criticized for surrendering or giving up to Trump. You know, you capitulated or whatever. And so, yes, indeed. In other words, Chuck Schumer is trying to save face with that left-wing base to shut down the government because he's afraid of losing to AOC in a primary. And this is yet another example of how the party is truly controlled by that radical, violent base, right? As I keep on saying, you know, Democrats can claim there's a distance, but ultimately at the end of the day, they know who their voters are. They know what their voters believe. And this is something that was further pointed out here by Senator Kennedy. So take a listen.
Very quickly, Senator, just give us your recent take on this government shutdown, whether it's going to happen, and what you see at stake here.
We're going to have a shutdown because Senator Schumer and the Democrats want one. It will be further evidence that human evolution is a slow process. There's no reason for the shutdown. What we've asked Senator Schumer and his colleagues to approve is what we've approved 15, 20 times, but they want to shut down because the loon wing of the Democratic Party is mad at Chuck, and Chuck wants them to love him, so we're going to have a shutdown.
Okay. All right. We will watch it unfold. Thank you very much, Senator Kennedy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this is about. It's about fear of the no kings protester types, the Antifa types, these types of characters that will go to the town halls and scream and maybe vote for AOC in a primary. And the entire thing is something intended to save face with the radical left. Except, as usual, the Democrat Party has a major problem here. That radical voter base is not the majority in this country. There's a lot of people in the center, obviously, and every time the party capitulates and surrenders itself to the far left, they're only pushing, of course, the center either away from politics or closer to the GOP. And here's the thing, maybe they understand, but they feel stuck, or maybe they just don't understand, is that ultimately a government shutdown hurts Democrats a lot more than it hurts Trump. Right? Because first of all, they're going to probably look really stupid at the end if they don't get their demands. But furthermore, when you think about the very government programs that CNN will always go on and tell you, oh, all of this stuff is shut down, people are without jobs, all this stuff, they need the benefits, the assistance. Who is overwhelmingly the benefactor of that stuff? Let me put it simply, it's Democrat voters, right? Federal workers, you're going to hear a lot about them being laid off, they're without pay, dramatic news segments on TV. Yeah, most federal workers are Democrats, probably about 90% of them, okay? Furthermore, when it comes to potential government assistance or benefits that maybe are slowed or delayed or not received because of government shutdown, again, who majorly is living off the government? Democrat voters. So Democrats are basically just throwing a boomerang right at their own constituency to say, look, we stood up to Donald Trump. And yes, those like geriatrics in the nursing home who are protesting for no kings are very happy with you. But what about the rest of everybody else? What about even the moderate folks who, maybe are the independents who, maybe don't necessarily think that shutting down the entire federal government because Trump won't give illegal alien health care out is necessarily the best idea. And of course, let's also not forget the fact that, no matter how much propaganda they want to sell, it is ultimately true and undeniable here. This shutdown was entirely incited by Democrats because the Republican offer was, let's just do the continuing resolution once again. And the Democrats said, no, surrender the entire Trump presidency and then we'll talk. And then when they said no, it is of course entirely on the onus of Democrats who own the shutdown 100%. And that's something that CNBC even pointed out to Hakeem Jeffries, who tried to make a bunch of excuses for it, but ultimately it's the truth.
That's not our approach. But Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. If the government shuts down, it's their decision to do it.
But this is a continuing resolution, and it's going to happen. All these things that you want to do, there's no way any of them are going to be negotiated by the time this happens. And if you shut down the government, you last time, Democrats point out, you lose FEMA, you lose troop pay, you lose all these different things that are so important to Democrats when they're on the other side of this. If you're not going to get all these other things settled, you need to do the CR to get the government funded and then return to this and do it in the normal course of business for Congress.
Yeah, well, again, Hakeem, it is true. The GOP does control the House, Senate, and White House. But the filibuster exists, which means that you need 60 votes to pass the budget. Your body set it up that way, okay? Now, again, I'm going to make the case. Progressives are really against the filibuster. They said we should have got rid of it under Biden. Manchin and Schumer basically stopped it, but it's pretty clear where that's headed. Hey, I think in this Trump presidency, we might as well beat him to the punch, do it, get it done, and actually pass our agenda without all this constant grandstanding when they don't even have power. But whatever. Again, you want to argue something else? Fine. Beyond the point in this video. Okay? But it is to say that you do need, as a matter of fact, unless you get rid of the filibuster, which you can do, Democrat votes to pass this budget. Democrats are refusing to pass that because they want illegal alien healthcare and USAID refunded and all this other garbage. So that's just a situation we have, right? And ultimately, again, a government shutdown hurts Democrats and Democrat voters a lot more. So I don't understand what you're doing here, right? Have you maybe considered the fact that constantly surrendering your party to the most radical among you, when the most radical among you are a major reason you lost in 2024, maybe is not a great idea? Like, have you tried just being normal? I don't know. But essentially, guys, there you have it. That said, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Who do you think is to blame for the government shutdown? And what are your thoughts on that situation? Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.